Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining the shiur this morning. I want to talk about a sugya that those learning Daf Yomi on Sanhedrin Daf Mem Aleph and Mem Beis, today's Daf Mem Beis, is very negeya, and even if you're not learning Daf Yomi, it's a sugya negeya l'maisa, and that is the Zman of Kiddush Levana. The sugya in Shas of Kiddush Levana is Sanhedrin, the Mem Aleph and Mem Beis. The bracha, the nusach bracha, is in today's Daf Mem Beis. We're going to talk about the Zman of Kiddush Levana. In other words, Kiddush Levana is recited during the first half of the month, as we know, right? From, as we'll see exactly, the earliest time and the latest time is very negei l'maisa. I get calls maybe every other month. Can I still take Kiddush Levana? Maybe on average every month. Can I still take Kiddush Levana? And we have to see exactly what the Zman is, as well as do you wait for Motzei Shabbos to make Kiddush Levana? When do you wait? When don't you wait? As well as the earliest amount of Kiddush Levana. How early can I say Kiddush Levana? This comes up maybe once a year on average. It's a Motzei Shabbos early in the month, and the Olam is handled by Mariv. Is it too early? Is it not too early? So what are the parameters of the Zman of Kiddush Levana? Of course, Kiddush Levana is Mekabel Panei Ashchina, as the Gemara says. It's a very chashuv tefillah, and we say it every month. So let's first, in order to understand this Zman of Kiddush Levana, we first have to understand the Mailad. We've spoken about the Mailad in the shiur many times, but it's important to appreciate that, and with this we'll have a much better appreciation for the halacha l'maisa of the Zman of Kiddush Levana. The Mailad is the time of the new moon. The moon goes around the moon goes around the earth. It takes 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 1 chelik. A chelik is equal to 3 1/3 seconds. Now, when Chazal used time, and they said time, they didn't reckon with minutes. They only reckon with chalakim. They reckon with days, hours, and chalakim. So if you want to know how long it takes the moon to go around the earth, Chazal will tell you it takes 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 chalakim. Okay, 793 chalakim is 44 minutes, because there are 80 chalakim in a minute, and that's 793. With this, right away, we now understand words of the Ramah, that if you don't know this number, the words of the Ramah are perplexing. The Hilchos Kiddush Levana is Siman Tav Chav Vav, and in Siman Tav Chav Vav, the Ramah writes that you could say Kiddush Levana until Chatzi Chav Tes Yud Beis Tash Tzag. What does that mean? Now the Mechaber says you have until 15 days. So the Mechaber gives you a little bit extra time, technically 15 days. The Ramah says you have until half, Chatzi Chav Tes Yud Beis Tash Tzag. What does that mean? It means halfway of 29, 12, 793. What do those numbers mean? They're not Rosh Tevis, they're Zman. That means that it takes, on average, it takes 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 chalakim for the moon to go around the earth. So if we're saying, you could say Kiddush Levana, as the moon gets bigger, that's what comes out in the Gemara, as it gets bigger, the moon gets bigger from the moment it passes between the sun and the earth, right? And a lot of times it's higher or lower. That's why you don't have an eclipse every month. But that's the time of the Mailad. And now it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until halfway. At the halfway point, it starts to get smaller and smaller. And Kachi Darka Shal Olam, every single month since Bris Olam, the moon got, since the Bershom, with the Maisa Gemara with the moon and the sun. But since the Bershom made the moon its size, which for all intents and purposes, that's from around Bris Olam, right, or shortly thereafter, the moon has gone around. That's how long it's taken. I have the ability to say Kiddush Levana until that point, according to the Ramah. Now we have to analyze this time, halacha l'maisa. Now, what about the beginning? What about at the beginning? How early can I say Kiddush Levana? So you have to be nenet from the or the Kiddush Levana, from the Levana. When the moon passes between the earth and the sun, you can't see anything. It's not visible for a while. How long is it visible? So it's machlokes Rashi and Baltimore. Rashi holds you could see the moon after 6 hours. It's Gemara Shana Daf Chav. The Baltimore holds you can see the moon after 24 hours. practically speaking, today, you're able to see the new moon at about 14 hours or so, give or take. I have the exact number. There's a chiluk between, just seeing it straight or seeing it with a telescope. A telescope, you can maybe catch it a little bit earlier. That's under optimum conditions. Under optimum conditions, the only time you can see a new moon is around Shkia time. That's it, because the way at the beginning of the month, shortly after the Mailad, the moon rises shortly after sunrise and sets shortly after sunset. That's a mitzias. So when you think about it during the day, the moon is up. The problem is you can't see it because it's so thin and the sun is so overpowering, you're not going to see the moon. Comes the Shkia, and the moon is following shortly behind the sun. And that's why the sliver of the moon, that sliver, the light of the moon, is pointed away from the sunset because you're looking at the moon. The moonlight is the sunlight which is shining on it, and as the sun is setting, that sunlight is hitting the moon, and you're seeing that little sliver with the points pointing away, and that you can only see for a little bit of time. Eventually that moon is going to set. For the purpose of Kiddush Levana, so you can't say Kiddush Levana on the first night. I've seen the new moon on a rare occasion. I've seen the new moon on Leil Rosh Chodesh, Aleph, only Aleph. Never saw it on Lamed, because it's usually not a new moon then. But I've seen several times. I remember I was driving my father of Shalom in the middle of the great state of Missouri. We were near Fulton, Missouri, and it was Leil Rosh Chodesh, it was Taka Chanukah, and it was Aleph, and I said, look, there's a moon, right? We were out in the country, and we saw that moon, but it's not often that you get to see it on Leil Aleph. It's too early to say Kiddush Levana then, although we'll see a case where you could say Kiddush Levana a little bit later this year, fascinating case. But L'maisa in general, it's too early. You got to wait. We hold Allah L'maisa. You got to wait 3 days in order to say Kiddush Levana. That doesn't mean Gimel of the Chodesh or Dalet of Chodesh. That means 3 days from the Shas HaMailad. Now, the Shas HaMailad, as you know, if you listen carefully to the Gabbai, Shabbos Mevarchim, you know that Mailad runs very often earlier than Rosh Chodesh. It can run a day, it can even run 2 days before Rosh Chodesh. So Bazai, if it runs 2 days before Rosh Chodesh, already, by the time Rosh Chodesh rolls around, you're already 2 days into the Mailad, and now maybe you're already Leil Beis, on rare occasion, you could say Kiddush Levana. Certainly by Leil Gimel, by Leil Daled, you could always say Kiddush Levana. By Leil Daled, Kamad always, and Leil Gimel, you could typically say it. It's typically enough, and that's where people right away get confused. You can have a Motzei Shabbos Leil Gimel. Everybody says it's too early. It's not 3 days. You're right. It's not 3 days into the month yet, because the 3 days in a month is not till Leil Daled, right? You're not into the month until you've completed 72 hours in a month. That's Leil Daled. But the Kiddush Levana goes by the Shas HaMailad, not by the day of the month. And therefore, very often, you can have a Motzei Shabbos that's Leil Gimel, and if you do the math, you could already say Kiddush Levana. Okay? So let's first talk about the early time, waiting for Motzei Shabbos, and then the latest time, and then later in this year, we're going to get into, if you're in a different time zone, how do you recognize the Shas Mailad and Kiddush Levana? Extremely Negei L'maisa, this Shaila, and we're going to get to that a little bit later, but let's leave that aside. Let's pretend right now you're Eretz Yisrael, so therefore if you're Eretz Yisrael, there's no Shaila, you know when the Mailad occurs, right? And now you're the cheshbonos from that point. If you get a different time zone, we'll cover that later, but for simplicity, we're covering for Eretz Yisrael. Now, which leads to just one important point here, and that is people, when they announce the Shas HaMailad, people say, oh, it's when it's over Yerushalayim. That's not the way to say it. The Shas HaMailad that we announce is an average time from B'riyas Ha'olam based on the average amount of time it takes the moon to go around the earth, which, as we said, with 29 days, etc. Right? That's an average. L'maisa, as you know, by an average doesn't tell you any given situation at any given time. Right? If someone has an average, their test score average, they get a quiz every week, and the teacher says, okay, your final grade is going to be based on your average score, and they have an average of a 95, right? And therefore they get an A because they have an average 95. That doesn't mean they scored a 95 on every test. That means they maybe got a few hundreds, and then the next one they got an 80, right? So they did, but how do you get an 80? Your average is 95. The answer is, well, that's the way averages work. You do a little bit more, a little less, right? And it's the same thing over here. The time of the Mailad, it could really take you could really take it different. It could be up to, I believe, up to 16 hours different. The actual time of the new moon, when the moon passes between the earth and the sun, could be up to even 16 hours, approximately different than. But when it comes to the Kiddush Levana, we don't care. We go strictly with the average time of the Shas HaMoilad, and that's how we shall avek the time to say Kiddush Levana. The earliest time to say Kiddush Levana and the latest time. So, l'halacha l'maisa, the earliest time to say Kiddush Levana, as we said, is 3 days. It's 3 days. Now, before 3 days, you don't want to say Kiddush Levana, right? You don't want to say it too early, because you barely see it. It's a sliver in the sky. It's not nicker. It's not really so noticeable, and therefore it's too early to say Kiddush Levana at that point. You have to wait for the 3rd day. Now, here's where the first machlokes comes in. The Mishnah Berurah says you have to wait for the 3rd day, but you should wait for Motzei Shabbos as long as you have 5 days left as a backup, as a safety net. You should wait till Motzei Shabbos. The Gaon argues. The Gaon says you say Kiddush Levana as soon as you hit 3 days. You say Kiddush Levana, right? So we have that, and there's a 3rd minig to wait 7 days to say Kiddush Levana. Wait 7 days so you have a Gezunta moon, which really limits, because again, the holiday is the same, Zman Kiddush Levana is the same, right? You have until, as we said, about 14, 15 days after the Moilad is the latest time for Kiddush Levana. L'maisa, right? L'maisa, what we're saying is, when should I say Kiddush Levana? Let's first go with the Mishnah Berurah, because that's how we're going to come out. And then again, there are people who go with the Gaon. What the Mishnah Berurah says is, the earliest time to Kiddush Levana is day 3, but what if it's cloudy on day 3? Do you wait for next month? Let's say it's cloudy the first month of Shabbos. Do you wait for next month of Shabbos? You got to have 5 clear days. Meaning, I don't mean clear is not a good word to use here. You have to have 5 backup days to say Kiddush Levana. So let's give a couple examples. Let's say the Moilad occurs on a Monday. But it's a Monday. Okay, 3 days later, let's say Monday afternoon. 3 days later, it's Thursday afternoon. So Thursday afternoon, Thursday night is already roy for Kiddush Levana. Like the Gaon, you should go out and say Kiddush Levana Thursday night. Like the Mishnah Berurah, no. Mishnah Berurah will say, better say Motzei Shabbos, because Motzei Shabbos, you're dressed, right? It's Mekabel Shechina, there's a Raivam, you're dressed a big day Shabbos. That is the proper way of reciting Kiddush Levana. You should wait till Motzei Shabbos. Let's say it's cloudy on Motzei Shabbos. Should you wait until the next Motzei Shabbos? No. So the answer is no in that case, because you got to have 5 backup days of Kiddush Levana. What are the 5 backup days? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You have to be able to say Kiddush Levana until Thursday night. Because again, you want the safety net, because if you're going to wait, in our case, the Moilad was on Tuesday. The Seiv Kiddush Levana is going to be Tuesday night. So now if you wait for the next Motzei Shabbos, you're only leaving yourself a small safety net of Sunday, Monday, maybe Tuesday night too, 3 nights. That's not enough. You need a backup safety net of 5 days. Now, I've never seen this anywhere. I'm going to assume this is halacha. When the Mishnah Berurah says you need 5 days, does he mean you need to be able to say Kiddush Levana the whole Thursday night, or just part of Thursday night? In other words, let's say the Seiv Kiddush Levana is at 9 p.m. in the winter on Thursday night. So is that enough of it? Should I wait till Motzei Shabbos in that case? I think l'chayra, yeah, because you do have 5 nights. In other words, you have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I do have Thursday night. I don't think the Mishnah Berurah meant that you have the whole night Thursday night. It means you can have a 5th if everything fails and you miss Monday through Wednesday because it's cloudy. You're still going to have a chance. You can have a crack at it on Thursday night, right? It's not going to be a problem. Now, again, the Gaon says no. You don't wait. As soon as you're right, day 3, you go ahead and you say Kiddush Levana. So again, l'halacha l'maisa, I think the prevalent minig is to wait for Motzei Shabbos of tziburs. I know there are yichidim that go like the Gaon. I was once at a chasana with David Feinstein, so Tzaddik Livracha, and they made a mini from Mariv. It was, I believe, Dalid of Chaydish. I believe it was Elul. It was in the atrium in Monsey, and right after Mariv, they said Kiddush Levana, right? Kiddush Levana. Kiddush Levana. It was not Matzah Shabbos, obviously. They say Kiddush Levana. I said Tzibur went out. Rabbi Dovid was saying Kiddush Levana, even though my meaning is to wait Matzah Shabbos. But Lamaisa, right, you're dressed up ready also, right? Rabbi Dovid saying Kiddush Levana, I'm going to go join Rabbi Feinstein and say Kiddush Levana with the minyan to do it. But in general, we wait for Matzah Shabbos. We'll talk about the 9 days in a minute. Yeah, question.
Why is it we don't do it on Friday night?
Okay. So that's a good question. We don't do it Friday night. Friday night would fit in very good, right? Very good, because you're all dressed up and you have a raivam. The answer is, there's several answers that are given. One answer is, it's kilu b'kabel pnei hashchina. And therefore, when you're b'kabel pnei hashchina, it's as if you're welcoming the Ribbon Shalom. And therefore, it's as if the Ribbon Shalom came michutz l'tchum. Right? In other words, even though the Eibush, Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere, but here you're makabel, you're making a statement of makabel pnei hashchina. It's like, makabel pnei hashchina is, it's like a blatant statement. So michutz l'tchum, right? The Baruch Shalom, you don't. There's that lashon of coming chutz l'tchum and tchum ha'masara and so on. There's a famous kasha they ask. Everybody knows Eliyahu Navi goes to every bris, right? The mile, right? There's a kishel, right? Kishel every day. It's 365 days a year. Eliyahu Navi's there. You have a kishel when it's Shabbos Yontiv. But we know the Gemara Eruvin says Eliyahu Navi's not going to come on Friday because you're getting ready for Shabbos, and Eliyahu Navi's not going to come on Shabbos either. Why? Because Eliyahu Navi can't come to chutz l'tchum. So what do you mean? Eliyahu can't come to chutz l'tchum. He's at the bris this morning, right? What does that mean? Right? What's going on or whatever?
It's Eliyahu Malach bris.
So one day I saw teretzes. It's Baruch Nir V'Gashmi. In other words, when Eliyahu Navi comes to say Mashiach is coming, that's B'Gashmi, physically. When Eliyahu Navi comes to Baruch Nir, right, then it's okay. So l'chayra, the Kilo B'Kabel Pnei Hashchina. So that's one. I think also there's another answer. People go, I don't know if it's this exact lashon they use, but you go outside, you take a sitter, how do you carry outside? Right, you can't you can't do that either. Right, there's a Shabbos, someone's going to carry their sitter. You have to take Kiddush Levana outside. Interesting, Allah Kiddush Levana, you're not supposed to say it inside. You're Mekabel Pnei Hashchina. It's like when a chashuv guest comes, you stand inside your room. Oh, thanks for coming. You go out to greet him. And you're also not supposed to stand under an overhang. You're supposed to go, right? So our shul, you go outside. There's an overhang. I was reminded the olam, no, don't stay. You got to move out. Because it's a chashuv Kabbalah, so those are a couple of reasons that are given as to why. Maybe dancing also, right? People dance afterwards, right? There are all sorts of answers. L'maisa, we only say Kiddush Levana on Friday night if it's the last night, or if, in other words, if the Seif's on Kiddush Levana. If the Mila, let's say, was on Friday, and we'll calculate the Seif's in a minute, we'll see the Seif's is Friday night, and that's it, you're out of luck, then you got to say it Friday night because there's no brera, right? So it's not osur.
But you could do it.
You could do it, yes. You would do it. Not only you could, you should do it. If the last night Kiddush Levana is Friday night, you should do it on Friday night. That means it's also, I think if you find it's going to be cloudy, Matzah Shabbos, the weather's particularly cloudy, Matzah Shabbos, you should say it Friday night also. For all intents and purposes, Friday night's the last night to say it. Right? If sometime in the weather forecast is a Nevi'eh Sheker, right? But L'maisa, for this purpose, if it's going to be cloudy, then that's not a problem. Yeah, Rabbi Dovid, question.
I guess my problem, is why we don't take a hybrid approach. We have some months which chronically, there's a lot of, it's even true for statistics, there's a lot of cloudy nights on those particular months, and here I am, the fourth night of the month, it's incredibly crystal clear Levana, and I have to wait till what you say.
There are communities that again, from my experience, right, if you have 5 backup days, you'll make it. I'm just saying, from experience. No, I've been following this for many years, right? But Lemais, if somebody's nervous, like you're in a city, there are some cities where it's cloudy all the time. In Europe, in Northern Europe, in London, I think, in places in Europe, it's just perpetually cloudy, 80% of the time. So it's such a place, you're right. If you're Dalit and you get a nice moon, Chaparine. Forget about Shmutz Shabbos, Chaparine.
I'm saying take a hybrid approach, like in winter months.
I know there are some poskim that say in the summer they wait for Zion, like the Chassidish minig of waiting for Zion, which is some hold as a hitter. But in the winter, don't wait for Zion because you get yourself into trouble.
5 days, so charted, you could probably.
It's all right. It's all. So you have to. Each city has to don. The rabbanim of each community have to don on it. In North America, most rabbanim have done that. If you have the 5-day backup, you'll be fine waiting for Motzei Shabbos. It's very rare. Well, I used to live in San Diego. I was actually living in San Diego. The Rav there, Rabbi Langer, told me he had been there already for, when I was there 20 years, he had been the Rav. He told me he had never missed Zman, saying, like if I believe I'm quoting him correctly, Kamat never missed on Motzei Shabbos. Because San Diego's always clear. Yeah, it's always clear. So except when they had an eclipse in 1923, actually on the day we're talking Daf Yomi here, on the day Daf Yomi began, Rosh Hashanah 1923, right, in Europe, Leil Rosh Hashanah was the famous mice with the Ger Rebbe, who said, bring me a Gemara Rosh Hashanah, bring me a Gemara Brachas, it was Leil Rosh Hashanah. At that time, there was an eclipse going on in Southern California, a total solar eclipse, and it was cloudy. Most places did not see it, so it does get cloudy in San Diego. My last week in San Diego, okay, it was Tisha. It was not. I was there Tisha B'av, and we moved. All right, and it was taka cloudy. It was a summer, and it was taka cloudy. After Tisha B'av was cloudy, and I was getting nervous that we moved on Leil Tu B'av. I was nervous that maybe I'm gonna have to say it from the plane, right? Because it's the last night, and from the plane you can see the moon. In the end, we were able to say it, but that was a rare event that it was cloudy like that.
It's not so much the has to travel for the 5 days. It's a crystal clear Levana, and we just learned today.
The minig in North America in most places is you wait for Motzei Shabbos and you'll be fine. That's the prevalent minig. If there's a place that feels that it's going to be a problem, then the rabbanim should don and decide accordingly as to what to do. So on the topic of Tisha B'av and Yom Kippur, you have also machloikas. Yeah. Do you wait? Right. Again, the prevalent minig is to wait. By Tisha B'av we wait because Kiddush Levana needs to be said mitaych simcha, not mitaych avelus, and therefore we wait till Motzei Tisha B'av. And Yom Kippur, the minig is to wait also because there's Emes Hadin, and therefore there's that lack of simcha, and we wait. There are those that argue and say, "Fakert, you want another schus, you want another mitzvah, another bracha, you should say taka during the Sesame Tshuva." There are those yichidim that do it, but from the size of the crowd, Motzei Yom Kippur, I would say it's prevalent to wait till Motzei Yom Kippur. Now here it's very interesting, with Tisha B'av, you actually go against the rule of the Motzei Shabbos, because what happens with Tisha B'av is you take a wait, you don't always have the 5 days after Tisha B'av, because by the time you're saying Kiddush Levana, it's already Leil Yud Aleph. I'm saying when Tisha B'av is a Nidcha, you're already Leil Yud Aleph, you don't have so many days left. There's a Mishabura's Lashon, but L'maisa, if you learn to Mishabura, you'll see it doesn't mean this. If Tisha B'av is Thursday night, there's a tzad to wait for Motzei Shabbos. But L'maisa, we're not going to do that. We're noying to say it Motzei Tisha B'av. And once we're on the topic of Tisha B'av, the Mishabura brings down that you really should wait to say it with your shoes on rather than saying it in your sneakers. You want to say it properly. And also you're fasting, you're shvach, so better wait until later. So the Maisa, we're noyig, most shuls are noyig to say it right away. It depends where you live. Some shuls announce, come back 10 o'clock and say Kiddush Levana. That's the Mahuder way of doing it. The Maisa is not so practical. A lot of people aren't going to come back, they're going to forget. We actually announce Kiddush Levana right after Mariv to say Kiddush Levana, say Tisha B'av, because the tzibur is more chashuv than saying it in your shoes, already full, you've already eaten. So we talk and say it right away. But one thing I should tell Davek, and I think there's a toast that some shuls make by Tisha B'av. By a tainus, a lot of shuls daven, and any tainus, people want to get home. Oh, yeah. And therefore, most shuls daven, let's say, 20 minutes after Shkia. Right? You daven 20 minutes after Shkia, you're done 35 minutes after Shkia, and you're home 45 minutes after Shkia when the fast ends. Some people wait 42, wait 50, whatever your minig is, you fill in the blank. That's not the shiur right now. But I'm giving you a little marshal. You daven 15, 20 minutes after Shkia, right? The Rav speaks, someone speaks after Mincha, for 15, 20 minutes. It's now 20 minutes after Shkia, you daven Mariv, everybody runs home. Right? That's the way you do it. Again, there's some people who take a wait, let's say tainus, they daven Mariv Zman, Matav Manoim, that's Muhuder. But in our region over here, most people daven Mariv 20 minutes after Shkia. L'maisa, tainus, it's a big problem, Tisha B'av. because you're davening Ma'ariv 20 minutes after Shkia, you finish Ma'ariv 35 minutes after Shkia, it's still Tisha B'Av. It's still Tisha B'Av. How do you say Kiddush Levana? You waited a whole 9 days not to say Kiddush Levana. You skipped Matzah Shabbos Chazayin. You didn't say Kiddush Levana, and now you're running out in Tisha B'Av. It's still Tisha B'Av. So what I do here, Grada, is we daven about 27 minutes after Shkia on Tisha B'Av. And then we finish right at 42, which is already for a person Kiddush Levana is good enough to go say Kiddush Levana. Whatever we post, the Zman for the end of a tightness, we got to post 42 minutes based on Reform Zatzal, right? That's what you still have back. And therefore, at 42 at the buzzer, we go out and say Kiddush Levana. Everybody goes home. Right? Everybody goes home. The shtickle tiny on the people who run out. If somebody runs out after. They're in a rush. They run after Shemon Esrei or Kiddush Levana. It's okay. Yeshayim ready. The tightness is over. Close enough, right? But Lamaisa, I really though have a little charata. I really should write in the bulletin Ma'ariv TBD. See, because if it's raining outside, I don't know when the bulletin's printed. If we come up with the times a week and a half earlier, I don't know what the weather's going to be. If it's going to rain, then I could daven earlier. I could daven Ma'ariv. Everybody can get home to eat because we're not saying Kiddush Levana anyway. Right? Someone told me in Lakewood, and I started doing this by Sukkot night. There's a shul for Ma'ariv. They write TBD. First night of Sukkot. Why? If it's clear, you can't eat till Tzeis anyway, right? If it's clear, so the Rav darshans, and then everybody goes home and eats in the Sukkah. If it's iffy, the Rav doesn't want to darshan because everyone wants to get home. What if it's gonna rain later, right? Everyone wants to get home and eat right away. When the Rav doesn't want to mess up everybody with his drush, everybody gets home, it's cloudy. Oh, we would have been home 10 minutes earlier, we could have eaten, right? So that's a TBD also in the Luach because of this rain issue. Al Kapanim Lamaisa, that's Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. Lamaisa, Yom Kippur, we don't have the problem because everybody, Yom Kippur, the Shaifer is at Seis. Right, by the time Ma'ariv is over, you're already, it's already Nacht. There's no problem. Okay, so that's the earliest time saying Kiddush Levana. The latest time, as we said, the Ramah brings down is half of 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes. 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes. What's half of that? So it's going to be 14 days, 18 hours. 22 minutes and a half a chelik. Again, 29 days in half, 29 and so on, is going to be 14 days, which is 2 weeks. 2 weeks, which makes it very convenient because the Zman Kiddush Levana is 2 weeks later and change. 2 weeks later plus. So it's 2 weeks, 14 days, 18 hours, 22 minutes, and a half a chelik. Okay, now we could drop that half a chelik because if you waited until that last half chelik to say Kiddush Levana, right, it's a little bit too late because that gives you about 1.67 seconds to say Kiddush Levana. So that chelik's not going to help you. So all intents and purposes, to say Kiddush Levana, you have 14 days, 18 hours, and 22 minutes, and that's Zman Kiddush Levana. That's Zman Kiddush Levana. So very simple. Let's go through some examples here. If the Mailat occurred on, let's say, Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. What's the earliest Zman Kiddush Levana? So you count 3 days off. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday morning at 6 a.m. is the earliest Zman Kiddush Levana. Okay, you can't say Kiddush Levana at 6 a.m. Friday morning, right? So you're going to say it. Right, it's already, it's day. You say Friday night. Friday, you don't say Matzah Shabbos, right? That's that example. What's the Zman Kiddush Levana? It's going to be 2 weeks later, right? Which is Sunday. What do we say? Tuesday morning. So 2 weeks later is going to be Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. 18 hours. 18 hours is midnight. 18 hours after 6 a.m. is midnight. Tuesday night, midnight, right? Really Wednesday morning. 22 minutes. So you have until 12:22 a.m. on Wednesday morning, right? Late Tuesday night. If someone calls up Wednesday night and says, I didn't say Kiddush Levana yet, so too late. It's too late. You missed the boat, right? You can't say Kiddush Levana anymore. Now some say maybe the next night you say you read the Gemara, maybe, right? Also the Gemara has the bracha, or you say it without Shem Malchus, right? You do it like that. Now, the Mishabura brings maybe efshar you could be saimach on the Mechaber Shita. right? Maybe like a lashon efsher kanzayin, right? It's a shag. So l'chayra, one could tie it b'shas al-chak. You could be saimach on the mechaber. The mechaber is giving you, right, a little extra time, about a little more than 5 hours. Because again, we said you have 14 days, 18 hours, and 22 minutes. So if you add five hours and and 38 minutes, right? That's what the mechaber is giving you. He's giving you a bonus of 5 hours, 38 minutes. That bonus could come out very, very important. Let's give an example. And here's where you have the Shas Al-Chak case. Let's say the Mailat occurred at 1 a.m. on Tuesday morning, right? Or let's say Shabbos morning, right? Let's say Shabbos morning. Early Shabbos morning. 1 a.m. Shabbos morning. 1 a.m. Earliest time to say Kiddush Levana is Sunday, Monday. Tuesday, 1 a.m. Tuesday morning. Okay, there's no moon out then. You gotta wait till Tuesday night. Fine. What's the latest time Kiddush Levana? Okay, the Mailat occurred on Shabbos morning at 1 a.m. Okay, let's go through the math. 2 weeks later is Shabbos morning at 1 a.m. 18 hours is going to be 18 hours after 1 a.m., which is 7 p.m. 7 p.m. 22 minutes is 7:22 p.m. Let's say it's the summer now, not the winter. The winter, you're good. The winter, 7:22 p.m., you're davening Ma'ariv at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So you go out and say Kiddush Levana, you made it. You're good to go. But if it's the summertime, let's say it's the Tammuz, right? So now you're going outside, 7:22 is a say Kiddush Levana. You cannot say Kiddush Levana on Matzah Shabbos anymore because it's light. It's 7:22. Remember, the Kiddush Levana has to be said. The Mishabur's lashon has to be said after Seisei Chavim. V'ad Seisei Chavim. It has to be dark. That's another agav. Shuls that daven mincha ma'ariv back to back and daven ma'ariv at shkia and then go out say Kiddush Levana 20 minutes after shkia is too early. It's not Seisei Chavim. It's not Seisei Chavim. You really have to wait until 40 some odd minutes to go ahead and recite Kiddush Levana. But let's go back to our case. Seisei Kiddush Levana on our cheshbon is Saturday afternoon, Shabbos afternoon at 7:22 p.m. It's too early. But with the mechaber, you get that extra pad. Because the mechaber gives you 15 days for the Mailat. The Mailat occurred at 1 a.m. on Shabbos morning. 15 days later is 1 a.m. Sunday morning. So now I can say Kiddush Levana Matzah Shabbos. You daven Ma'ariv at 9:30. You daven Ma'ariv 9:30. You go at 10 o'clock. You got 3 hours to say beautiful moon. I can't talk about Kiddush Levana, right? You could still say Kiddush Levana in that case. But L'chayr is only Shas Al-Chak. Now, when someone wants time, when you Shas Al-Chak, you're not supposed to wait till the last night to say Kiddush Levana, right? Lemaisa, it does happen after Kamina. I think in such a case. Let's say this exact case I gave you. Let's say in that case, should you say L'chayr? You should say Kiddush Levana Friday night in that case, right? Again, the size of Kiddush Levana was 7 p.m. in the summertime. 7:22 p.m. Shabbos afternoon in Cheshbon. That's the size of Kiddush Levana. But Lemaisa, I'm being Saibach on a B'diavad on a Shas Al-Chak to say it. Maybe it's too late. Mechaber gives me till 1 a.m. Matzah Shabbos. In that case, you should say it Friday night, because when you wait till tomorrow, you're playing around. It's not so push. You can still say Kiddush Levana. So better to say Friday night when we know it's mutter b'Shas Al-Chak, right? Better that Shas Al-Chak is better than to wait on Matzah Shabbos. So that's why because someone once printed in a calendar luach. They went with this 15 days and they just wrote it in the calendar. So I tied that no, that's only Shas Al-Chak. You should really write, this time, and then B'Shas Al-Chak. So he said, but of course, everybody knows you can't wait till the last minute. So of course it's only B'Shas Al-Chak. If you're waiting for last night to say Kiddush Levana, it must have been B'Shas Al-Chak. It was cloudy. So I told him this nafkamina. If you write to say Kiddush Levana is Matzah Shabbos 1 a.m., they're not going to say it Friday night. They're going to say after tomorrow. It's supposed to be clear. But l'chayr, in that case, they should have said it on Friday night, right? So that's where you have this stuff. Now, a couple other points here. Well, one other point is that some of the bases of being Samech and Mechaber, there's some Chuvas Chacham Sofer that wants to give a little bit extra time, maybe even up to 18 hours of Kiddush Levana, because L'maisa, it's the moon is not nicker that it's peiches for heilich. When you outside on let's say the 16th of the month, right? 16th of the month. It's a Leil Tazayin. You go outside. To you, it looks like a full moon. Can you tell the difference between Tezvav and Tazayin? No. To you, it's a full moon. the astronomer will tell you, the almanac will tell you that the full moon already happened, 8 hours ago, 12 hours ago, right? And technically it's not a full moon anymore. But it's not really nicker. So therefore, that's where you have a little bit extra. And I don't think they go with this. I'm sorry, they're going to do it without Shem Malchus. But that's why, when you're going like the Mechaber, you're giving yourself the extra few hours. Pshat in that is you're also simich on the fact that it looks full, right? That's good enough for purposes of my recitation of Kiddush Levana. Rabbi Dovid, question.
Well, I guess you kind of partially answered my question about why do they differ in opinion, but wasn't the Mechaber question for a different geography than
Well, I mean, again, that's all the Mechaber is Sfardim and Ramah, but it doesn't matter where you live.
But the moon's the moon. So
the moon's the moon. Yeah. The moon's the moon, which is again now for purposes of the next part of the shiur, then we're going to talk about how time zone changes. So now we have the earliest Kiddush Levana is 3 days. Do you wait from Motzei Shabbos? We said it's more Mahuda to wait from Motzei Shabbos, as long as you have 5 backup days. And now your latest time besides Kiddush Levana, we said, is the 14 days and 18 hours and 22 minutes. But we're giving you B'Shas Chak, we're giving you the Mechaber's extra till 15 days. Again, I want to.
It's based on what you perceive.
No, those times are based on what the Luach says. In other words, the time of the Mailad. We're just speaking out, right? That when you go to that time, you have the nicker. That's the lumdus.
But what is the machlokas that you can go by what you give?
No. The Mechaber gave 2 days. It was enough, right? The Mechaber held, you 15 days is enough, right? It's close enough, right? You round it up, right? You don't have to be so medactic in the hours and minutes. Good enough. Remember, the whole Kiddush Levana also is anyway average. So there are cases where you could even use the Ramah sheet where the moon is getting smaller, because it was based on an average. Yeah.
About doing it with a minion as a yachid or with
right. So again, it's better to say Kiddush Levana with a minion. It's better to say it with a Raivam. The Chai Adam says that a Raivam is 3 people. So again, there's a discussion. What's better? Let's say I'm going to say it. Let's say Shabbos myself or with a Raivam earlier. There's a Be'er Halacha that speaks about this. What's more important, right? Mikamcha Yisrael, we always want to do mitzvahs Mahudar. What happens when there's a collision course with a Hiddur? Yeah. Right, which is a Kiddush Levana. This is the case. I have a choice between saying it, one way or another way. Right? I have a choice saying it one way or another way. So I always try to get to say it with 3 people if possible. But, right, if you're alone, you could say it alone. The minig is to wait till Motzei Shabbos. That l'chayr seems to be, right, even if you have Raivam, the minig is still to wait a pasha until Motzei Shabbos. Usually you're going to have 3 people Motzei Shabbos. You're usually going to have that. I think once this is the shiur, a beautiful answer. Rav Mendel Feldman, who was the founding Rav of our Kehillah, here where the Agat Pirka is housed. So I once asked the following shaila. I was running out to Europe on a Motzei Shabbos for Star K, right, for the work that I do. And I had to daven in a Marav, the earliest Marav, right near my house. And I was going to literally run out after Marav with no time, to Havdalah and run to the airport. Okay, so my question was, when am I going to say Kiddush Levana? I may not get it in Motzei Shabbos because I'm running to the airport, check in. I may go straight to the gate. Maybe if I have time, I can go back outside and say it. But L'maisa, my cheshbon was I'm not going to be able to say Motzei Shabbos. So I certainly I'll say it Thursday night, right? In my case, I'm not going to say it anyway Motzei Shabbos. I may as well say it Thursday night. I wanted a Raivam. Okay, so my shayla was like this. I had 2 boys at home over our mitzvah. So my shayla was, could I say it Thursday night and take my shayla for Feldman was, I want my 2 boys to say with Sav Raivam, but then I'm taking away from them their Hiddur Motzei Shabbos. Is that okay? Should I say it B'Yechidus Thursday night? Or should I have the Raivam with my sons, but then it's my Hiddur, but they're losing out of Hiddur?
keep it up.
So he gave me, you're mechavit to his answer. His answer was they have a hitter too because they're also getting kibbutz with there. So they get kibbutz, they're losing out Motzei Shabbos, they get kibbutz. So it's a wash. So right, and maybe it's even better kibbutz.
Can you use a woman as one of those?
So l'chayra not, because the minig is women don't say Kiddush Levana. It's a big shayla, why not?
Does she have to be there?
No, the Rav is three people saying it, Pashas people saying it together. So women is not going to count. Women don't say Kiddush Levana. It's all shayla in its own right. Yeah. Why women don't say? Some say they took away they made the Bekimas Halavana with the Chait, which is a whole tumult. What does that mean? Because the Maisa, they have to remember this. The Bekimas Halavana was from the sun and the moon discussion, right? Which if I have a minute at the end, I'll tell you Divrei Agada at the end on that famous Gemara of Bekimas Halavana. L'maisa, So the answer is, what chait b'reis hadas? What does that have to do with Pegim Samagon? This is a kasha they ask. I once saw another Lomish Teretz, which is not, which I believe Magen Avram says this Teretz, and that is, but it's not so posh of an answer, is that whenever you have a mitzvah shazman grama, right, women, we Ashkenazic women are allowed to, say, make a bracha, right? They make a bracha on Luvan Esrog, they make a bracha on Sukkah, and so on. Sfardim, of course, Sfardim women don't make a bracha on mitzvah shazman grama. But when the mitzvah is the bracha, that's the whole mitzvah, then women don't make a bracha. In other words, lulav, they take lulav. Oh, I'm taking lulav, let me say the bracha. I'm eating the sukkah, let me make a bracha. I'm hearing shofar, let me make a bracha. But where the mitzvah shezman grama is the whole mitzvah is the bracha, that they don't do. There's such a teretz like that. Why women don't say. Anyway, let's go back now to time zones.
Would another reason be like similar to why they don't like Hanukkah candles, because they lit outside?
Yeah. Oh, I hear. Right. There's one reason. Right. Because they could outside. Maybe that's another reason. It's a sneeze sticking Indian. Maybe. That might be another teretz. Okay, so now let's get to Zman Kiddush Levana in outside of Eretz Yisrael. Right, Baltimore, Maryland, Lakewood, New Jersey, New York, Australia. Right? What's the Zman Kiddush Levana? So if you look on this Indian, there's a major discussion here about this. In the Sefer Atzei Soda, page 131, and other Svarim, he quotes. That Svarim was written by Rabbi Dovid Heber, who wrote 3 Svarim on Zmanim. He was a resident of Baltimore, right, in the Adas. He was well known. The Talmud Rashiva Ruderman Zatzal, who gave Maskamas in his Sefer, and he has 3 Svarim on Zmanim, and he brings Paiskim that say like this: L'char, you have to change the time zone, which comes out of Chumrah for us, for Zman Kiddush Levana. What does that mean? That means like this. The Mailad, and this is very important to understand this. And I mentioned somewhere before, people make a mistake. They say the Mailad is when the moon's over Yerushalayim. That's not the Mailad. The moon is over wherever the earth is at the time. The moon is over the whole earth, right, at the same time. What's the straight part of where it's at exactly? It depends where the earth is. It's not a din in Yerushalayim. What do we say? It means Yerushalayim time. That's what it means. What time is, when we announce the Mailad, we're saying what time is it in Yerushalayim? Much about the Doime, when a rocket ship goes up to outer space, right? What time is it in outer space? There's no time zone. So they use a Greenwich Mean Time, right? They use Universal Time, which is the time in England, in London, by the observatory. That's a standard that they use. That's the time it's used. That's the time up there. They're not flying over Greenwich. They're flying over a satellite. They're flying over anywhere. But what time is used? So as you know, for Klal Yisrael, the center time zone is Yerushalayim. So when we announce the Mailad, we're announcing Yerushalayim time. Right? We're announcing Yerushalayim time. What time is it in Yerushalayim? It's based on an average. What time is it in Yerushalayim? That is the Mailad. So let's go back to our 1 a.m. case. Or no, let's go back to our 6 a.m. case. The Mailad occurs at 6 a.m. on Shabbos morning. What's Zman Kiddush Levana? So we made the cheshbon. 18 hours, 14 days, 18 hours, 22 minutes. So it's 12:22 a.m. But when we say the Mailad occurred at 6 a.m., that was the time in Yerushalayim. But what time was it in the Eastern Seaboard? What time was it here? The time was 7 hours earlier. The time was not 6 a.m. Shabbos morning. It was 11 p.m. Friday night. It was 11 p.m. Friday night. So now when you make the cheshbon of when it's Zman Kiddush Levana, right? 5 days, 18 hours. What's 18 hours after 11 p.m.? 18 hours after is 5 p.m. So over here, it's going to be too late to say Kiddush Levana. I'm going now with the Ramah of the half and half. Okay, in this case, you're going to get the extra according to Mechaber, right? But let's even go with the Mechaber right now. Let's say the Mailad occurred at Friday at 8 p.m. Friday at 8 p.m. Okay, so 15 days later, let's say we're going to be making like the Mechaber over here. 15 days later is going to be Matzei Shabbos 8 p.m. Well, that's 8 p.m. Yerushalayim. But in Baltimore, it's 1 p.m. Friday afternoon, which means 15 days later is 1 p.m. Shabbos. So you can't say it's enough kamina is. In Yerushalayim, you can still say Kiddush Levana Matzah Shabbos. In Baltimore, you can't. Because we're just, basically, it's the same time. When it's 8 p.m. there, it was 1 p.m. here. So all we're doing is we're just deducting those hours. And the emphasis is you have to deduct more than 7 hours, because this relates to the standard time discussion. You have to deduct 21 minutes also. Because when standard time, the time we announce is really the old Yerushalayim time. In 1883, in 1883, at least in America, and other countries followed suit shortly thereafter, they created standard time, right? And what's standard time? Standard time means every city turned their clock to the center part of the line of the longitude. So, for example, the Eastern time is based on what's called 75 degrees west of Greenwich, which is a line that runs through Philadelphia, and Baltimore turned their clock. Yerushalayim, you ever notice the Zman very early in Yerushalayim? You know why? Mincha G'dayla there, you could have Mincha there at 11:53, I think, in November. How's that? Because Chatzais is at 11:23. How's Chatzais 11:23? Right? Chatzais really runs in the middle of the time zone from 11:45 to 12:15. But in Yerushalayim, they turned their clocks back 21 minutes. Whenever they start back standard time, whenever it was in the late 1800s or early 1900s, they moved their clocks and they have the same time as the 30-degree mark east of Greenwich, which is, I think, runs near Cairo or through Cairo. So they subtract. So when you look at the Moila time, you're looking at the pre-standard time. But Yerushalayim turned their watches back 20 minutes. So really, the Seif Zman is even 21 minutes earlier, which means in Yerushalayim, the Seif Zman Kiddush Levana is 2 weeks and 18 hours after the Moila, and 1 minute. But okay, 1 minute's already too late. So let's, for simplicity, in Yerushalayim, the Seif Zman Kiddush Levana is 2 weeks and 18 hours after the Mailad. And in Baltimore and Lakewood and New York, it's 2 weeks and 11 hours after. And in Chicago, it's 2 weeks and 10 hours after. And in Denver, it's 2 weeks and 9 hours after. And LA is 2 weeks and 8 hours after. I think I got that right? Did I say that right? Right. LA is 10 hours. Right, 3 hours before us, and then we're 7, so they're 10. Right? So they're 8 hours. After that, with daylight savings time, you get an hour later, right? That's why some people, the Gabbai announces he adds an hour for daylight savings time. No, you don't do that when you announce the Mailad, because the whole time is a standard time, everything's off. Now, I don't have time to get into this discussion. What about solar time? Does it mean solar time, the Mailad? That's a whole discussion beyond the scope of what we're talking about. Maybe there's even another way of cheshboning it. But Al Kopanim, the way to calculate Kiddush Levana here, the way that Son is bringing other Paiskim is, you have to deduct the 7 hours. You have to deduct 7 hours. L'maisa, the Reb Henkin in the Luach, of the Ezra's Torah Luach, does not deduct the hours. Right? And that's a shita of, there are other shitas that held like this. You look at the Sefer Ala Yoina on page 31, and further, where it says, no, you have to deduct. You look at the Mailad, finish, you have to make his cheshbainis. You take the Mailad and do the math, and finished. So if you look at Ezra's Torah Luach, you'll see that there's a time, Seif Kiddush Levana, it argues on the Erev book. In the Erev book, Zmanim are published. Rabbi Reidler puts in the Zmanim of there, and in the Erev book, it goes with this cheshbon. It doesn't even do the mechaber. It gives straight Ramah, deducting 7 hours. That's Seif Kiddush Levana, right? 2 weeks, 11 hours. That's it. Okay. If you want to be making like the mechaber, you could add a few hours, right? As we're saying. L'maisa, as Torah Luach, you can see is 7 hours different than the Erev book, because as Torah Luach is going with being Mekel. Now, this Chumrah comes out of Kula at the beginning of the month, because when we say you got to wait 3 days to say Kiddush Levana, right? How long is 3 days? What does that mean? Over here, you can really deduct from the 3 days. You could deduct 7 hours and 22 minutes. Right, you follow, because if the Mailad occurred on Motzei Shabbos at 10 p.m., okay, in Eretz Yisrael, they can't, in the winter, can't say Kiddush Levana in Eretz Yisrael. The moon is already set by 10 p.m. at the beginning of the month. They're not getting Kiddush Levana. But in Baltimore and in the East Coast, the Mailad occurred at 3 p.m. on Shabbos afternoon. So, I'm sorry, Wednesday afternoon, I made a mistake. The Mailad occurred on Wednesday afternoon at 10 p.m., Wednesday night, 10 p.m. In Eretz Yisrael, the earliest Zman Kiddush Levana is 10 p.m. on Shabbos. Too early. It's too early. I'm sorry, they can't say it Matzah Shabbos. They're davening Marav at 6 o'clock. So they're not going to be able to say Kiddush Levana because 10 o'clock too. They can't say 10 o'clock there's moon, no more moon. But over here, if the Mailad occurred at 10 p.m. on Matzah Shabbos, that's 3 p.m. our time. You could already say Kiddush Levana on the calculation 3 p.m. Shabbos. Obviously, it's too early. Matzah Shabbos 6 p.m. Kings of day. You can say Kiddush Levana. I once made a cheshbon. This is one of my favorite cheshbonis that I once made. If you go with if you're Mekel, Pashtus, you could be Mekel. You can have a Hechi Timsa that you could say Kiddush Levana Rosh Chodesh. Okay, but you got to go to the right place. On the second night of Rosh Chodesh Teves, Habalin L'Toiva, Tov Shin Pei Ches. That's going to be Thursday night, December 30th, 2027. You go to the island of Rapa in the French Polynesia in the South Pacific. Okay, that's about as far west as you could go in the world. It's east of the date line of Choladeus, this island, and you're east of the international date line, which means you're the westernmost part of the world. The Mailad occurs, that Mailad of Teves occurs the Mailad of Teves will occur at 8:43 a.m. plus 17 Chalakim on Tuesday morning, the 28th of Kislev. An extremely early Mailad. Think about it. The Mailad is on Tuesday, and Rosh Chodesh is going to be on the fourth day of Hanukkah. Rosh Chodesh Teves is Thursday and Friday. In that case. Okay, which means Friday is Aleph Teves. But the Mailad was Tuesday morning, will be Tuesday morning, 8:43 a.m. And now go 3 days later. Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday morning. So Friday morning at 8:43 a.m. is the earliest Zman Kiddush Levana. And 17th Chalakim, right? Okay, but you can't say Kiddush Levana 8:43 Friday morning, right? Eretz Yisrael, Friday night. Okay, you don't say Friday night, they have the Matzah Shabbos. But Lamaisa, this location is the west, is in the Pacific Ocean. They're like 12, 13 hours behind Yerushalayim. I think at 12 hours by Yerushalayim. Okay, which means the Mailad there occurred at 8:43 p.m. on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. It's in the South Pacific in December. Is the summer, which means the Shkia is late, which means the moon is just following right after the Shkia. So I made a cheshbon that it's going to be enough to say Kiddush Levana right. You're going to have. I did all the math over here. In this place, it's Kiddush Levana. You can say at 8:23 p.m. on Thursday night, the first day of Teves, when the moon is not set yet and it's already dark. It's already Tzeitzach Chavim, and you can say Kiddush Levana. So it's going to be Aleph Teves, where you can already say Kiddush Levana. The latest Kiddush Levana, right? The latest Kiddush Levana, I once did a cheshbon, could be said in when you have a very late Mailad, and in Australia you have Fakert. In Australia, they have to be makbir at the beginning because they're earlier, but they get longer to say Kiddush Levana. In other words, if the Mailad occurred at, let's say, Yerushalayim at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, okay? 4 p.m. on Wednesday. So the sites like Kiddush Levana is going to be, 2 weeks later, we're machmir. In Australia, at the end, they can be mekel because they get extra time because the Mailad there occurred, it's much later, the clock is much later when the Mailad occurs. They're 6 hours ahead. So they have a much later time. I once made a cheshbon that you could say Kiddush Levana in the place in Russia. In Eastern Russia, you have the ability to say Kiddush Levana later. In Anadire, Russia, okay, you got to go back to 1902. Yud Zayin, I believe it was Teves, I think. You have the ability, Shvat. The Mailad occurred very late in the day. In that case, you had an ability to say Kiddush Levana on Leil Yud Zayin. Leil Yud Zayin. In that case, you're in the eastern part of the world, and the Mailad was very late, so that now you got the late late effect. Right, so you have mikatza katza. Normally, you typically have until Leil Yudal or Leil Tezvav. You got to keep an eye on the luach.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many calls I get Leil Tezvav. It's still Tezvav, but sometimes it's too late with an early running Milad. If the Milad is running late, then you're going to have a problem. One last thing, I'll pitch Rush. The Zman Torah Esakasha on the Pekimis Halvana. The Levana came and said, right, Ein Shtei Malachim. Right, you can't have two kings that are B'Keser Echad. So either, so the Rebbe Shalom said, okay, I'm going to be B'mai at you. So Zman Torah asked Akasha, what my Shiva Reb Chaim Schmaltz, that's how you say this over, because it has a Musar impact. He said, L'chaira, what was the time on the moon? The moon was saying a Dvar Halacha. You can't have Shnei Malachim B'Keser Echad. So what's the time on the moon? That the Rebbe Shalom was B'mai at the moon. What's the taina? Right? Teretz is, who told you you're a melech? That was the taina. Ich bin a melech, right? Who told you you're a melech? You're an eved. You're a servant. That's your job, right? That's what we say. You're an eved. That's your tafkid. You're not a melech. That was the time on the moon. So Rabbi Schultz used to say over that's pshat. On earth we have a tachel, we have a tafkid, right? We're Avdei Hashem, Avdei the Kudsha Barichu. When you think you're a melech already, you get yourself into trouble. You're an eved. You do what the Ratzon Hashem is. That was the moon's mistake, right? It's misharis of the Welt. That's it. So too we're misharis, right? You're medaftiyin. Right? A person has to accomplish in this world. If we do that taka, we serve the Rebbe Shalom. It's Hashem. We talk about Zoycha Kiddush Levana. We say Dovid Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayim. What's the pshat? Why do we say in Kiddush Levana? Because the Malchus Beis David is like the moon. The moon goes away, and where's the moon? But everybody knows it's coming back. Everybody knows it's coming back, right? So pshat is that just David HaMelech is also going to come back. I didn't speak about the eclipse of the moon. We spoke about that in a different shiur a while back, but there's a shaila, if you see a lunar eclipse, maybe that's such like Kiddush Levana, because the solar eclipse, a lunar eclipse only occurs b'shas haMailad, at the time of a full moon. So l'chayr, if you see a Purim night, this year is going to be a total lunar eclipse, Thursday night. So does that offset? Even though the Seif Cheshvan might be later, maybe the Maril brings that should be the Seif Zman, because in front of my eyes I'm seeing that the full moon occurred. Because when an eclipse occurs, that's the time of the full moon. When a lunar eclipse occurs, the solar eclipse is at the time of the Milad. So there's a tumult there. I forgot to mention it earlier, whether or not the Maril, the same Maril as the Makor of the Ramah, says that you just have to say, you can't say it anymore. The Mike said the Mechaber Ramah Mishabura, don't bring this Maril. So it would seem we don't pass like it, and even if there's an eclipse, you should still say it. But again, that would be another example of where you want to say it before that to avoid any shilas of, you don't wait for the eclipse and run to the shilah. You want to hop around early. Let's say it's Friday night issue, same thing. Let's say Matzah Shabbos, there'll be an eclipse right away, and now you're going to see, then you want to say it, and the Seif Zman is later. You don't want to do that. You want to say in that case Friday night. Again, it's a rare case. But Lamaisa, that's it then. Thank you very much.
Rabbi Heber, when they print in the newspaper the time of the moon, what is that?
So that is the time of the moon in the